I know that sounds impossible, but stay right here. Because if you're unhappy, if you feel disconnected, if you're starving for emotional intimacy, if the communication is dying between you and him, if you're giving more than you receive, or if your relationship feels like it's slowly slipping through your fingers, then this video is for you. And listen closely, because today I'm going to reveal the real reason so many women repeat the same painful patterns in love. Why you choose certain men, why you react the way you do, why you shut down or overgive or tolerate things you shouldn't. And it has nothing to do with your man. It started long before him. I'm going to show you how to break a cycle that most women never even realize they're trapped in. A cycle that makes you see your partner through the lens of your father without even knowing it. And no, I'm not giving this exercise away right in the beginning. You need to understand the truth before you can transform anything. But I promise you this, if you stay with me until the end, you will walk out of this video with clarity, emotional freedom, and tool that can save your relationship or even save you. So you won't repeat the same cycle and the same vicious patterns again and again. All right, now take a deep breath. Let's begin. But right now, I'm really gonna dive into this topic of how to really refresh your marriage so your intimacy will improve, your connection will improve, your communication, and overall the feeling in the household will improve with your man. And for that, I would like for you to take a notepad and a pen and be very raw and very vulnerable and write 2, 3, or even 4 pages without ever sharing this with your husband or your boyfriend of all of the dissatisfaction you have towards him. Write down your complaints, write down your bitterness, your pain, your sadness, your anger, your rage, all of the criticism that you're suppressing. Because when you are suppressing these complaints and criticism, they still sense it in the background. And now I'm gonna share something with you that gonna get you to this breakthrough. Once you're gonna finish writing this 2, 3, or maybe even 5 pages criticism and complaint towards your husband or your boyfriend or your fiance, ask yourself, who are you really complaining about? See in that letter that this is really not about your husband, that this is really not about your boyfriend or fiance, that you're really complaining, that you're really hurt, that you're really resigned and bitter about your father, possibly stepfather, possibly grandfather, or whoever was in your life that was raising you when you were a child and teenager. If you had a certain trauma, let's say with your uncle or your stepdad or with your dad, now you are looking at your husband and your boyfriend through that lens. You're looking at him as if he caused that pain to you. And that original trauma that happened with your father or your uncle or your grandfather or your stepdad is now showing up in your marriage. Usually when people are married for 6 months or when they're dating only a year, that doesn't kick in. But the moment you've been married for over 6 months or a year, those traumas come on surface. And all of a sudden you look at your husband or your boyfriend that you've been with for 2 or 3 years through that lens of a father. Or if you get married all of a sudden with your boyfriend, it goes into that trauma, that original trauma that happened with your dad. And for some of you thinking of trauma that had to be a sexual trauma or your father had to be physically or verbally abusive, that could be. But sometimes the trauma could be that your father was emotionally absent and unavailable. He was working all the time. He was traveling all the time. And now you feel really lonely in your relationship because you're looking at your husband or your boyfriend through that lens as if he was emotionally unavailable. And when you look at him that he is emotionally unavailable, guess what? He will be emotionally unavailable because there is an invisible wall between you and him. But this real criticism and complaint is really not addressed to him. It's really addressing your original trauma with your father. And so then you might ask me, how can I overcome that? Because in order really to create this happy, loving, vulnerable, lasting, and healthy relationship with your man, you gotta heal that original trauma. And here's my gift to you, my friends, for these holidays. So please remember to like, subscribe, and just write in the comments, I'm starting my healing to help my analytics, because this is my biggest gift to you for this holiday season. Because if you're gonna do this exercise, what I'm about to give you, you can heal your original trauma with your mother if you're still bitter with her, and that fully impacts how you feel about yourself. And you can do the same thing with your father. And if you're gonna heal that trauma with your father, you will never look at men the same way. And you owe that to yourself. You can continue complaining that all men are bad, emotionally unavailable, or dishonest, but in the reality, this complaint is not to men. It's to the original trauma, which is 99% of the time, it's your father. And so what you're gonna do, you're gonna every day, gonna continue to writing the same letter, but now addressing, you might start with your current man, your husband or your boyfriend, but then be present and start noticing that it's really not about your man, but it's really about your father. And so keep writing all of the pain, how he was not available, how he missed your graduation, how he did not buy you your favorite dress that you asked him to buy, and that he was not emotionally available. He was always busy with his colleagues at work and your mother, that he was neglecting your needs when you're asking and you were seeking his advice or approval. So keep sharing your heart until you fully clear out everything that you're suppressing and did not share with him when you were 5, when you were 10, when you were 15, 18, and 20. So it's all on the paper. Once you're gonna write it down, maybe you would wanna grieve. Maybe you're gonna feel sad throughout the process as you're gonna feel the sadness as you're writing it down. So make sure you don't suppress. Slow down and cry. Maybe you would want to feel like you want to squeeze his arms or squeeze his throat and choke him. Allow your arms to do that so you can release that pain. You're just visualizing it. You're not really doing it in real life. But release that anger if your hands feel like doing it. And you're going to continue writing it every day for the next 5, 10, maybe even 20 or 30 days, until one day you're gonna get your pen and a piece of paper and there will be nothing to write anymore. And in that moment, ladies, you're free. You no longer have this anger, this pain, this sadness, this guilt, this shame, this fear. And as this fear, shame, and guilt goes down, your liberation, freedom, happiness, and joy comes back. And for the first time, you'll be able to look at your husband or your boyfriend for who he is. No longer judging him that he is your father and looking at him through the filter that he is the bad man, that something is wrong with him. By the way, dear man, if you're listening to me, do the same exercise writing the letter to your mother. And if you're going to write this letter to your mother, you're no longer going to resent women. And you're not going to be afraid to commit to them and to be happy with them and create a happy and lasting marriage, relationship, and family. It works both ways. And so this is most powerful exercise, psychological exercise, that's going to save you thousands of dollars. You won't have to go ever to therapy if you're going to do it the way it's designed. For some of you who this might not be enough because you're still holding on something heavier that you won't be able to overcome on a piece of paper, you might need a guided meditation. And if that's the case, write to me. I need your recording. And I will give you a really beautiful discount to my forgiveness program until December 25th. So you can enjoy this holiday feeling relieved, feeling free, experiencing the joy and happiness. Because please understand that your parents are access to your happiness. Meaning, until you forgive them, until you let go of all of the pain and resentment you're holding on to them, you will not experience the joy, freedom, liberation, and happiness. No matter how much harm they've done, this is not about you becoming best friends with them, but you releasing that anger, resentment, bitterness, fear, guilt, and shame so you can be free. And what you're gonna create afterwards, once you forgive them, it's really up to you. And it is your choice. But this exercise is for you to stop seeing your man, if you're a woman, or your woman, if you're a man, as if they are the problem. And if they are not giving you the love, attention, and connection that you're really craving and seeking. With that said, my friends, if you're interested to be in a journey with me, the journey to softness, journey to love, self-acceptance, and creating the loving and lasting harmonious relationship with your man or your future man, so you can attract high-value man who is a provider, who is a leader, who is a protector, and not afraid of the commitment, I invite you to join to my feminine circle, the circle of sisterhood, where I'm going to be guiding you, supporting you, and we meet bi-monthly for 2.5 hours per month. If you're interested, please click the link below. With that said, happy holidays, my friends. Namaste.